We are live.
All right, wonderful. Just to confirm, Alami, do we have we achieved quorum for today?
Yes, we have quorum.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll call this meeting to order at 1 p.m., 1:04 p.m. on June 18th, 2025. I will begin with land acknowledgement. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. We'll begin with a roll call. First, I'll start. My name is Councillor John St. Amand, representing District 16, and I am the chair of the Grants Committee. I'll look to see if we have Joseph Allen, our vice chair, with us today.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you, Joseph? Welcome.
I am 5 hours ahead of everybody else.
Looking to see if Councillor David Hensby has joined us today.
No, that's right.
All right, Councillor Virginia Hinch.
No.
And I know that Councillor Nancy Hartling is away at the moment and is unable to join us. Darren Steeves.
No, he hasn't joined.
Sherdar Pollard.
No.
Lara White.
Yes, I'm here. Thanks.
Excellent. Keith McDonald.
I'm here.
And Stephanie Sachs. I see you've joined, Steph, but I don't see your camera or mic.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here and I'm just trying to make that work.
Wonderful.
Okay.
All right, so we've got exactly our 5 members, so hopefully everybody's able to stay for the duration of the meeting so that we can maintain quorum. And today we are joined by staff members PJ Temple, the team lead for grants and contributions, Patterson Dave, principal planner for the Housing Accelerator Fund, Grace Anthony, program coordinator for programs and engagement, Mike Cooper, team lead of acquisitions and disposals, and our legislative assistant, who is clerking the meeting, is Olami. All right, so we'll begin with item number 2, approval of the minutes from April 23rd, 2025. I'll just ask if there are any errors or omissions that should be corrected before we move to approve the minutes. Seeing none, I'll ask a member of the committee to move to approve the minutes.
I'll move.
Thank you, Vice Chair Allen. And we need a seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lara. And so we've got our mover and our seconder. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And our minutes are approved. Moving on to item number 3, the order of business and additions or deletions. Olami, are there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
No additions or deletions from the clerk's office.
Excellent, thank you. So I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for our motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll move.
Thank you, Lara.
I'll second. Keith?
Seconded by Keith. Thank you. And I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. There is no new business arising out of the minutes. I'll call now for a declaration of any conflict of interest. No conflicts of interest as a result of anything on our agenda? All right, so we'll move on to consideration of preferred business. There is none. Olami, is there any correspondence that has been received on any of our items on the agenda with the clerk's office?
No correspondence received from clerk's office.
All right, thank you. Moving on to 7.2 petitions. Are there any petitions that have been received at the clerk's office?
No petition received from the clerk's office.
Thank you, Olami. We have no presentations for today and no information items forward. So we'll move on to reports and discussion under section 9. We'll begin with staff 9.1.1 HRM Community Grants Program fiscal 2025 recommended awards. And taking us away here will be staff member PJ Temple.
Thank you, Chair. To the committee, this is quite a lengthy report. So if you do have questions of clarification of staff, if you could refer to the number and the name of the group, that helps us all find that particular narrative section in the report. Before we begin, Peter Greekin and myself sat down and reviewed the report. There have been some changes since this report was approved and circulated. So we'd like to give you, the committee, an update on that. And then you can either debate them individually or we could move them collectively as a committee. Staff can't move that motion, but we'll make clear the reasons why and what we're doing. So there's 3 changes. The first is number 56, Pitt Peswick Yacht Club. The recommendation to award funding had attached to it a condition to hold back that grant if the grant were approved by council, pending confirmation of ability to proceed. Since the report was written and approved, we have received confirmation that they will receive provincial funding and can proceed with the project. So basically what that means is we would amend that to remove the holdback. Okay? The second one is a proposed reduction in grant value. This is item 48, the Kiwanis Club of Cole Harbour, Westfall. The club applied for $5,000 to fully fund materials for the park they operate, but subsequent to our recommendation staff, it has been confirmed that the soil was donated and is not actually a cash expenditure. And as such, we recommend that the value of that grant be reduced from $5,000 to $1,000. And that $1,000 would go to pay for hiring a contractor to move and grade the soil on site. So for clarity, under our program policy, we don't fund pre-approved expenditures. And given that this was a donation of the materials, that's not a cash expenditure. So we go back. So if the committee and then subsequently council approve that amendment, the financial implications section of the report, which would be now the committee report, would amend the balance remaining in the program budget up to $23,750. And lastly, this is a correction, our error. On attachment 4 under ineligible, the Public Good Society did provide a quote. So that's a correction to that statement. But nevertheless, staff recommend ineligible because they're not the owner of the property for which the expenditure would benefit. And the program doesn't fund fundraising on behalf of a third party. So those are our updates and a correction. So you can pass them all collectively as one group, or if the committee disagree with any one of those, you can pull that out and make that a separate motion. Okay?
Thank you, PJ. So I guess for starters, we should ask whether or not there are any members of the committee that feel that each of those items warrants being pulled out and voted on separate.
Sorry, Chair, we need to put the motion itself on the floor before we can go
right.
into the amendment.
Okay.
Do you want me to word a motion or do you want to do it as chair?
The first motion, as it is on the report, needs to be put on the floor first before we
Oh,
go
I
into
see.
the amendment. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so can I ask if we have a member of the committee that is willing to put the HRM Community Grants Program recommended awards for 2025 as a motion on the floor? And you should see the language in your agenda.
I can do it if you want me to.
Thank you.
Let me find the recommendation here. All right. It is recommended that the Grants Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council approve 63 awards as detailed in attachment 2 of this report for a combined total of $480,430 from an operating account M311-8004 Community Grants.
Thank you, Vice Chair Allen. Can we have a seconder, please?
I second.
Thank you, Lara. All right, so now we will entertain the idea that we have an amendment or multiple amendments potentially if we separate out the 3 specific revisions that are needed. So Allow Me has been kind enough to provide in the chat the specific amendment that would cover all 3 of the revisions to the motion as presented. I'll just ask whether or not we, is there anyone that feels like we need to pull either item 1, 2, or 3 out to vote separately? Or are we in a position to vote on that amendment with all 3 in one amendment?
If I may, Chair.
Certainly.
The only question I would have for Peter would be, so number 1 for the Pepepsic Yacht Club. So that holdback. So I assume that we have confirmed that their additional funding has been confirmed, because like I don't usually see this as an element in most of these reports. So it's a very, very interesting line item. So I just wanted to make sure that we have confirmed that as an item on there in that holdback has been lifted, of course. But I just want to make sure that that has been confirmed. Because I've never seen that before. I haven't seen that in quite a few years.
Yes, Peter Greeken with the grants and contributions to the chair, to the vice chair and the committee. Yes, I spoke with the provincial government who was providing that grant, and I asked that staff person if it was confirmed that they would be receiving that grant, and she said yes, it was already dispersed actually, so we don't need to hold back our portion because the project can proceed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's my only question.
Right. Any other discussion before we call for someone to move this amended motion? All right, seeing none, I'll ask if a member of the committee is prepared to read the motion for this amendment.
I can read it if somebody doesn't want to.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Vice Chair.
Anyways, thanks a lot
Long
for
read.
writing this. Why do I always get the long one? It's recommended that the Grants Committee, recommend that the Halifax Regional Council, number 1, amend funding condition number 56, Pepepsic Yacht Club. The holdback can be lifted and society has confirmed the provincial funding and able to proceed. Number 2, the proposed reduction in the grant value. Number 48, the Kiwanis Club of Cole Harbour Westfall. Staff recommend that the value award be reduced from $5,000 full funding to $1,000. The soil has been donated and is not a cash expenditure. The revised value of HRM grant would be towards the cost of hiring a contractor to move and grade the soil on site. If a reduction is approved, the financial implication section is amended to a revised balance remaining of $23,750. And number 3, the corrections, attachment 4, ineligible public good society did provide quotes, but not in the owner of the property for which in the appliance is sought. The program does not fund fundraising.
All right, and can we have a seconder, please, from among the committee members?
I second.
Thank you, Lara. So I'll call well, is there any debate among the members, or are we prepared for the question?
I do have a question for number 2. It actually just kind of thought in my head is the Kiwanis Club of Cole Harbour. I assume it would be a property upgrade because of the amount of work being done from the funding we're provided. Do they own that property? Is that a property that's owned by the Kiwanis, or is it a third-party property?
Through the chair to you, vice chair, and the committee. No, they own the park. It's an erosion problem where the lake drains through the park. It's starting to erode and it's starting to flow onto the property in the playground area, etc. So they are beefing that up to prevent further erosion and further flooding of the property. And they contacted me actually to tell me that they did get the soil on. So that's why we recommend that the grant goes towards what was referenced.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions relating to the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the amendment to the original motion, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 All those opposed? And the amendment to the original motion carries. Now, I do have an amendment myself, and I will ask Vice Chair Allen to assume the chair for a moment so that I can make this amendment.
That I can do.
All right, thank you. So I have a motion that I'll read here, and then we'll debate it a little bit further. I move that the application of St. Peter's Anglican Church of Peggy's Cove be referred to staff for further review. I'll provide the rationale here. This is a historic and iconic church in Peggy's Cove. I think anybody that's driven the lighthouse route probably knows it well, or at least it'd stand out as an important church in the area. They recently even applied for recognition as a historic property. Sadly, in the process of applying for their grant, they wound up, they have a considerable amount of damage to the building that winds up needing to be remediated. They've got some structural damage. Peggy's Cove Preservation Society is not sure that it's going to make it another year. And so it's for that reason that they applied for a grant, hoping to get some funds to be able to make some urgent repairs in order to preserve that historic church. The grant was submitted, was disqualified because it was confirmed, and as we heard in earlier discussions, ownership of the property is necessary in order to apply for a grant. And the parish applied for the grant in their own name, not recognizing that the title on the property was actually the Church of England. And so for that specific reason, they were disqualified from the grant process. And so they've asked that they be permitted to resubmit with a joint application between the parish and the proper church title owner of the Church of England for reconsideration. So I'll ask whether or not there are, actually, the chair will ask whether or not there are a move. I'll make that motion myself. I'm looking for a second.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Lara?
Lara, wait for the second.
Lara seconded.
Yeah, and then it's just call for the question, is it not?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, and call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand or identify by saying yay. All opposed, say no.
Yay.
We have, does it pass? Sorry, my screen here is a little blurry. So Keith, yay, and then we have Lara, yay, and then Stephanie, yay.
Yes.
All right,
Very
allow
good.
me, is it your judgment that we've passed that amendment?
Yes, based on the votes.
Thanks.
Chair, please, I just want to ask, so, this question is for Peter. So with this, motion being passed and the chair's motions, are we now going to have the motions will not be 1 to 4, or it will be on its own?
Through you, Chair, that should be a separate motion.
Okay.
Technically, it's a motion of referral to staff for further review. And then when the committee's report goes to regional council, any other member of council could request a referral back to staff for further review. So through that process, bearing in mind that there's a limited amount remaining, but it doesn't matter how many are referred, staff would then do a supplementary report, which would go back to council. But for the members of staff, of council on the committee, once we get to council, it's really important to be clear that council agrees that all the other awards that are not amended continue on. We're not coming back with the entire report. It would be only a supplementary report to address any referral for the review. Okay? So we don't hold up everybody for the sake of 1 or 2. Okay? So it's come back to staff for further review, and typically at that point, it's strengthened if the council, which Councillor Solomon has done, provides a reason why. Otherwise, staff are going back to the same material.
Right.
What's changed, right? So,
Right.
So that's the process. But no, you're all good, but I would keep it separate.
Good, thank you.
So I guess that would be the application for St. Peter Parish to be referred to staff for a supplementary review on the basis of the historical significance of the building, and would require, I guess, both parties to have a joint application at that point.
Yes, so what we would do, I mean, St. Peter's Parish has already applied. What we need is, if you will, an application or a documentation from the property owner, which I believe is the Archdiocese of Nova Scotia and PEI. They would provide a financial statement as well as the property owner. Clearly, they have to give their approval. It's their asset. And then away we go from there. So it's just a little more documentation, and then staff would review it with all the information together and put that together in a supplementary report along with any other referral that may come or not.
Very good.
All right, thank you. All right, Vice Chair, I'm happy to assume responsibility for the chair.
Happy to hand it over.
Thank you, Joseph. All right, so we've passed 2 amendments to the main motion. Are there any other amendments to the motion before we return to debate on the main motion? All right, seeing none. So are there any questions or items to discuss relating to this now amended motion before we call for question?
The chair, I maybe recommend perhaps going through a roll call, just asking each individual, just for the sake of transparency.
All right. So we'll come back to me. We'll start with you, Vice Chair Allen. Do you have any questions or items for discussion relating to the main motion?
I have no questions or items of discussion, just a comment to the wonderful team putting this report together. I have always appreciated the addition of the scorecard to the actual grant document, just to kind of give people an understanding of how things are documented and scored. It was done a couple of years ago, so appreciation still continues to this day. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on to Lara.
I just had a really quick question about, because several of the submissions had requests for website development, but there was quite a difference in terms of the amount of money that was awarded or recommended to be awarded for each one. And I was just curious, did that relate to the specific ask or the application, or was there some other form of evaluation? Because I think one had 5,000, there was a 1,000, perhaps even a 10,000 in there. And I know that obviously websites can vary in terms of their complexity and their function, but I was just curious as to how those numbers came to be. Over.
Sure, I can answer.
Well, I'll answer, and if you have anything to
Okay.
add, we'll do that double team. Right. So yes, to your point, each one is quite different. So sometimes there'll be lots of what I might call frou-frous or technical add-ons, or there's also often a difference between, does a group have the ability to contribute something to this project themselves, so that might moderate how much they get. So basically, it is the scope of the work, the number of functions, if you will, that they're adding in. So some of them, I think there was one group, it allows online donations or online purchases. Versus somebody else who might want to just update the text and the photographs. So there is quite a bit of variance, and I guess too, there's going to be variance amongst the fees charged by different service providers. But most of these tend to me to be smaller sole proprietorships that are doing this work, as opposed to we're going to a large corporate communications company. So most are a pretty modest range. And certainly for some groups, we would rather they have a website than doing everything through Facebook, which becomes a barrier to public access to information. So certainly we encourage this as a way of public access.
Yeah, and I may just follow up that sometimes it's a complete new website, and other times it's just updates to an existing website. And a lot of those updates and features of the website, as PJ mentioned, can vary. Some would like to have videos, some would like to have PayPal on there, some would like to have a lot of other social media features, etc. So it's about the scale of the work to each one, and they vary quite a bit depending on the needs. Some of the organizations are quite small; they don't need anything complicated as far as their website.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I just to me it just stood out that there was some differential in terms of what the proposed award was, and definitely, PJ, do support your motion, your comment regarding moving away from Facebook as a website, as a proxy website. I mean, this would expand to those who aren't Facebook users. So yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Lara. Heath.
No, I don't have anything. Thanks very much.
I see your camera's working now.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you're talking to me, but no questions for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I'll bat cleanup here. I too really greatly appreciate the scorecard. That winds up providing a much higher degree of transparency, and that winds up being a really fruitful way to go through the analysis of each of the submissions. I do appreciate your commentary about the website as well, Lara. Having been a website developer myself in my past life, I know that there are monumental differences in the ask from one organization to another, and so I think that is properly reflected in the amount of grant that is provided as a component part of what PJ and her team have provided here. So it's an important thing to recognize that these small organizations, some of them just don't have the capacity to do that work themselves, and can contribute very little to the process. And then others are really active in the process, and they only need a little bit of professional help to dot the I's and cross the T's in order to get everything working correctly. And e-commerce is its own big, hairy, scary thing to enter into when you're a small organization, especially nonprofits that are run by community organizations made up of volunteers. So it does add some complexity to everything that they would attempt to do. So it's nice that that's reflected in this process. Thank you so much. So if there is no further debate on the main amended motion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 Aye. All those against? Hearing none, our motion passes. Our amended motion passes. All right, we will move along to item number 9.1.2, less than market value land lease at multiple locations. Taking us away on this is staff member Mike Cooper, the team lead for acquisitions and disposals. He does not have a presentation, but is here to answer any questions we may have on the staff report that was distributed to the members. We will once again go through the speakers list, asking for the participants to weigh in any questions that they may have, and we will once again lead off with Vice Chair Joseph Allen.
I have no questions at this time.
All right, thank you. And Lara White. Oh, you're muted. Still muted.
Sorry
go.
about that. The
No
classic.
problem.
I just had a quick question, and maybe it's because I missed it in my own reading, but is there a question here that this property is not going to be, is going to move from a not-for-profit to a for-profit? I thought I read that in there and I was a bit confused. But I will confess that I read it a little bit quickly.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Can you folks hear me all right? Great, thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, through you to the committee member. Mike Cooper, the project author, Sean Woodard, isn't able to be here today. Neither is Mike Weil, the manager. So we are with the third string quarterback here. But I am joined by my colleagues in planning and development with the Housing Accelerator Fund team, Aaron Murnaghan and Dave Patterson. The intent of the motion is to sort of get on one page with agreements with the province. Right now, there's 3 leases. They've been with various organizations that have come and gone over the years. So the idea is to get consistent terms in an interim period. So there'll be a 5-year period where staff can liaise with the province and determine what the next best steps are for these properties. You know, there'll be a report back to council, potentially grants, not sure of the process right now, in terms of either seeking direction or presenting direction on how to move these things forward. So the goal of this motion is to get us on a page, get us into a modern agreement with the province, so that we can then advance discussions and work on a path forward for these 3 properties.
Great. And 5 years is I guess is more of a standardized period of time for this kind of evaluation, or?
Yeah, it's a reasonable period of time. We expect that we'll be coming forward with recommendations sooner than that, but that adds a little bit more time, so we don't have to do this 1 or 2 more times.
Okay, copy. Thanks. That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. Keith.
No, I read it. It's quite detailed, but I was just curious as to, is the idea of advancing the lease to get ultimately to get the land to move over to the province, or to land on a satisfactory financial term and carrying on with the municipality owning the land and the province administering the housing? I was just curious if is there an end goal that we're trying to achieve, or is it just to land on appropriate financial terms to going forward?
Right. Thanks for the question. Through the chair to you, committee member. Yeah, we're essentially setting up a bit of a holding pattern so that we can liaise with the province and work on the plan. I don't know that the goal is to get the land into the name of the province, or to get the land through the province to an organization that will be better suited to manage it. We're too early in discussions to have a more concrete plan. But the decision or the recommendation today is just to set a holding pattern so that we can move forward and get started on those next steps.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. Stephanie.
Yeah, and I'm sort of kind of on Lara's page on this, just around the 5-year timeline. So are they operating currently in terms of housing right now? Like, is it open for housing so that the property's in use?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair, through you to the council, to the committee member. Yeah, absolutely. There's many units here. I can't remember what's outlined in the report, perhaps 99. They're occupied. The properties are being maintained and by the province, and yeah, they're not in. We're not waiting for this 5-year period to end before we're able to provide housing. We're at the properties are in a state where work needs to be done to revitalize them while people are living in them. So that's the next steps.
Okay, thank you. That was where I was sort of thinking about. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I mean, really, I think the committee members have asked all the questions I would have asked as well. I was curious about why the alignment on the timing, whether or not they were currently in use. So that's excellent. Can I ask if we have a mover and a seconder for the motion for this particular item? You just have to refresh your screens there or grab the original agenda in order to get the proper wording for this particular motion. Again, it's item 9.1.2. We need a mover and a seconder.
I can move for it.
Thank you, Stephanie. So if you could please read the motion as you see it on the agenda.
That the Grants Committee recommend that Regional Council approve the lease agreement with the key terms and conditions set forth in the staff report dated April 30th, 2025, with Nova Scotia's Department of Growth and Development for the premises located at Block HC-2 Wood Avenue, Halifax, PID 402-68534, Block BO Victory Lane, Halifax, PID 00127928, and Block L, IMO Lane, Halifax, PID 00035675, and authorize the mayor and municipal clerk to execute the agreement.
Thank you, Stephanie. And do we have a seconder?
I second.
I'll give that one to Vice Chair Allen. All right, so I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Nay. And the motion carries. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 9.1.3, Rural Transit Funding Program. We have staff member Grace Anthony. Again, there is no presentation, but there will be an opportunity to respond to questions of clarification. I'll get this in the right order this time. I'll call for a mover seconder to put the motion on the floor, and then we will have our discussion. So can I call for a mover for item 9.3?
I can move it if you want.
Thank you, Vice Chair Allen. And a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Keith. And so, Vice Chair Allen, if you could read the motion, please.
That I can do. It is recommended that the Grants Committee recommend that the Regional Council approve grants pursuant to the Rural Transit Grants Administrative Order for the 2025-2026 fiscal year to a maximum of $503,851 set forth in Table 2 of this report.
Thank you very much. So we'll again go through the roll call to raise any questions of clarification or any other items for debate on this motion. We will begin with Vice Chair Allen.
I have no questions at this time. It's pretty typical every year at this point. I do have a question though. I just want to double check one thing. Has the rates or the amounts increased over the last couple of years? And they have. And is that just to keep up with inflation in this current economy that we have, I assume. I know we don't have a presenter on it, but
Can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Yes, through the chair to the committee. This staff report does outline that previously, June 4th, we had approved a staff report to increase the funding. It hadn't been raised since 2014, and so the amendment to the administrative order now allows for annual adjustments for inflation.
okay. I guess my question would be: is at that point is if we're going to be doing increases based off the amount of inflation, where are those numbers being quantified?
We work with the finance department. They use Stats Canada metrics for Halifax to come up with the rate of inflation, and they use an average inflation over the last 5 years, as I recall.
Yeah, I didn't see that in the report, and just may recommend that may be added in the future, just so there's more transparency and visibility around that. Just because we're spending taxpayers' dollars, and people would, if I'm increasing things by if inflation and things are going up, people are going to want to have that in that document. I may have missed it, but I just want to make sure that it's in there for the future.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Joseph. Lara, did you have any questions?
No, no questions at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. Keith?
No, I don't. Chair, thanks very much.
Thank you. And Stephanie?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And for my part, the only question that I really had was I found it notable that there were no new applicants for the 25-26 year, but it was not noted whether or not that was consistent with years past. Specifically, I'm curious whether or not staff can speak to whether or not there is, something of a trend in this particular regard, or whether or not we've had kind of the same cadre of 4 applicants that year over year are simply applying for renewal.
Yes, through the chair to the committee. We actually have not had any new applicants for a number of years. The applicants have remained fairly consistent. It's the same organizations applying for funding as back as 2022-23. In 2021-22, there had been another operator that was considered, but it doesn't look like anything was paid out to them at that time. But these are the 4 common partners that we have requesting recurring funding.
Okay, thank you. It was good to know. It was just a curiosity for me.
Sure.
All right. Does anyone else have anything else that they would like to jump into before I call for the question? No? All right. Well, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All those against, please say nay. And the motion carries. Thank you. All right, I will move on to number 10, added items. Are there any added items? Allow me. Pretty sure earlier when we went over the order of business, there wasn't anything to add.
No, any added items.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Date of our next meeting will be August 6th, 2025. Can I call for a motion to adjourn?
If I may, actually, Chair, I just have a quick question about our next agenda. Do we have any intent of having any in-person meetings coming up in the future? I know in previous years we've had an attempt to at least do 1 or 2 per year, just to kind of have some in-person meetings, and it's just more so for for debate and discussion, because sometimes in person makes them a little bit more lively and a little bit more robust for engagement. So I'm just kind of curious if there's any intent. I know people have some pretty complex schedules, especially this time of year, especially myself. But I just wanted to see if there was any intent, or if anybody had any desire to have any in-person meetings. And I'm sure that could be sent out. Maybe Illumi can send out an email to everyone asking for availability or for scheduling, to see if there's any possibility. You know, we may not be able to, but it'd be nice to have a conversation around it.
Lara and Steph. Well, we'll start with Stephanie first. She raised her hand in Zoom first.
Yeah, I'm supportive of in-person meetings, just an opportunity to have a little bit more discussion around the items and just in person. But I did want to ask for clarification, because I have in my calendar for some reason our next meeting was August 27th. So is August 6th in place of August 27th?
Yes,
Yes.
perhaps allow me to elaborate on the decision to move that particular meeting.
Yes, that was a replacement just to meet with the business unit what I call it, needs for a report targeting the regional council. So that's why we move it back up to August 6th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also I'll be sending out the email to get your opinion if the August meeting or the September meeting will be a good one for us to meet in person. Thank you.
Lara, you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, I just, well, first of all, thanks for this idea of meeting in person. I work in and out of the country. So currently I'm in Beirut, and I am going to be home in August, and that would be great. Great from my own side. It would be a great opportunity to be able to meet in person, depending when the September meeting, where I might also be able to attend then. But I would very much embrace the idea of meeting in person.
Wonderful, thank you. For my part, I'd be very open to meeting in person, but for me, it's easy. I work at City Hall, so it's not really much of a stretch. I'm very open to the idea, and I would encourage our members to express their views on that as well. And if allow me, can look at the schedule that we have and see whether or not there are conflicts potentially with the utilization of chamber, or whether or not we wind up needing to go to another facility that gives us comparable ability. I know that the Northwest, or not the Northwest, the Dartmouth, the Alderney is used for some meetings as well. So there are some options there if City Hall itself is not available.
Yeah, in the past we've used City Hall for our meetings.
That would be ideal, yeah. All right, can I call for a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And so we are adjourned at 1:52 p.m. And we'll see everybody for our next meeting. And hopefully one of the next few meetings will be in person. All right, thanks everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks very
Take
much.
care.
See you soon.
Bye.